I mean, it's a bus simulator. Either you're going to be able to get over that, or you're kind of not. But yes, what I'm covering is OMSI, a bus simulator released in 2011, or more specifically here, OMSI 2, an improved and updated version released in 2013. These are simulators. Version 2 tends to just be a slightly better and expanded version. It's not like there's a plot here and you are working to take down a corrupt mayor who hates buses and wants to remove them all from the town of Grundorf. This is very much an indie game, developed by a two-man team, MR Software, Marcel Kunt and Rudiger Holzmann. And what I love about this is it's not just a simulator of buses. It's not just, here you go, take some generic buses and drive them around some sort of generic town. It's a love letter to a very specific era and a very specific place. And yes, it may be rough-edged, a little unpolished in places, and in the case of early releases of OMSI 2, more than a little bit buggy. But I love that this is a simulation not just of buses, but of the author's childhood nostalgia for riding these manned double-deckers around the streets of Spandau in the late 80s. For me, a good simulator is always made to feel special by something other than just, does it capture the basic mechanics of the vehicle or thing being simulated? Something special beyond that. For example, for Euro Truck Simulator 2, it's the map. That feeling of going on a long road trip, or driving past a lake in Scandinavia as the sun rises. For OMSI, it's something that the authors found a particular nostalgia for. The sounds of these buses. For something that is only amateur sound recording, often afflicted by the same background sirens, revving motorbikes and traffic that my recordings suffer from, this has created a sort of symphony of the bus. The creaks and rattles as it goes over bumps, the engines, the whine of the transmission, even the uncomfortable squeaking of the bendy buses. Bendy bit. And OMSI does something that I've wanted from a simulator ever since I played my first driving game. A fully modelled cockpit, where you can click on every button, slide every slider, and it will make the appropriate bus noise. I may have got a little obsessed by the sounds. Perhaps more than a bit obsessed. Okay, a lot obsessed. Other than button-clicking joy, which I know may have a very specific ASMR sort of enjoyment, I guess I'm going to have to sell this a bit more. I mean, come on man, bus simulators. Really? The thing I like about it is perhaps best illustrated by looking at those flight and truck simulators. They're all about the epic journey, the long drive or the long flight, where you kind of pull onto a motorway or set up the autopilot, and that's kind of it for the next few hours. But there's a sense of kind of doing something grand and something big, you know, I'm flying across a country or I'm driving things across a continent. Whereas a bus is kind of, it's all very small, but it's also very busy. You know, every minute there's somewhere else to stop at. Passengers will want tickets. They're probably going to complain about your bus being at the wrong temperature, so you're going to have to fiddle with some ventilation controls, and gosh, I have no idea how the vintage ones work, so we just sort of click things and hope. Perfection. Excellent bus driving, if I say so myself.
Können Sie die Heizung anmachen, bitte?
What? What? More? It's the maximum height. Maybe this control might do something. Ooh, this free tip. Pay rise. I kind of like that. I like that sort of celebration of just the really small. Taking simulation from this sort of big, epic adventure to just this thing where you click a button because the internal fan in the bus needs to be reduced. To give just one example, the change box and ticket machine. Now, these are things which strike fear into the heart of the beginner OMSIist. I mean, even I set them to easy or even off when I was first playing the game. But if you get past that, if you learn to exist without the crutch of the key which will automatically dispense the correct change, there's a sort of weird satisfaction in this. The passenger will give me a 5-mark note for a 2-mark 70 ticket, and I will go, oh, I know how to do this. And it's really weirdly satisfying operating this simulated change machine in a German bus from the 1980s. I feel that that's not going to come across. I hope it comes across. It's kind of, if you think about a game as just a series of repetitive motions to perfect, isn't this just a game?
Ich hätte gerne eine normale Fahrkarte.
Yes. Yes, we know this one. This one's fine.
Danke.
Yes, this one's good. We could sell this ticket for this amount of money. We know what's going on. Maybe it's debatable whether clicking on things to dispense the correct quantity of marks and pfennigs is actually a game or not, but still, when you're on the bus, there's always problems to solve. Whether it's figuring out how to get round a corner without bumping into a lamppost or clipping someone's golf, or just how to manipulate the temperature controls to stop the passengers complaining about the bus being too hot or too cold. Now, people do criticise these things, and you don't have to go very far into a comment thread on a review of OMSI to find someone saying, oh, well, why don't you just go and become a bus driver then? But I think that misses the point. These games, they're about sampling the thing without having the stress of it being your full-time day job and realising you've got to do another 8 hours of this, whether you like it or not. But it's kind of a different thing, this in-game stress. And yes, driving a bus in this game is difficult. And you're always only one sort of errant Mercedes or Volkswagen Golf shooting across a junction from having a car accident. And then you have to stop and find some way to summon the police, because otherwise you get in trouble and it goes on your permanent record. I have at least one profile where my driver rating is described as cruel. Can't think why. It's fine.
Hier im Bus muss man keinen normalen Fahrschein mitnehmen.
Right. Let's pretend none of that ever happened and you can have a ticket.
Mein Fahrschein?
Two.
Dankeschön.
There we go.
Einmal Schüler bitte.
Okay, you want a Fahrschein.
Können Sie mir dann auch nochmal einen Fahrschein geben?
Yeah. Stop this. This impatience is what led to the pedestrian crossing light incident. There's a lot of people exiting the bus. It's fine. I only want dedicated bus passengers on my bus. I don't want people who are just going to leave it at the minor incident with a crossing light. And yet it's weird that what is a very stressful and demanding job can become such a zen gaming activity where you're given all of these little daily bus problems and find yourself kind of really getting into it. Maybe getting into it a little too much. People who call my bus disorderly, this is not a disorderly bus, this is a punctual, high-performing bus. Look at this, more people, more victims for the bus. That came out wrong.
Hallo.
Okay, definitely getting into it a little too much. More victims for the bus. Dead-eyed children. Stiff-legged twins. And an elderly lady who wishes to purchase a Fahrschein. Yeah. Ooh, this is a change situation we've not had. There we go. Done. Success. The bus will ride. But something else about that. Oh, why don't you just go and become a bus driver? Is Yes, you could go and become a bus driver, but not a bus driver in 1980s Berlin. And this is something which I think elevates OMSI beyond just a bus simulator. The fact that it is set very much in this time and place. Time and place which happens to include the destruction of a small architectural entity known as the Berlin Wall. And this is something that you can do in OMSI. Set the date to 1989 or early 1990, and the game's scenario flavor text will tell you that a new bus route has opened up, allowing you to drive to the wall and into East Germany. And there's something about this, experiencing it not in a documentary or an overtly historical game, but just a bus simulator, which gives it a tremendous sense of place. Waiting at that makeshift checkpoint, then driving through into narrow cobbled streets lined by trabants, full of potholes which make the bus rattle and clank. You're not experiencing this as someone telling you, oh, these are the steps to reunification. You're experiencing it through just trying to navigate a bus through these narrow streets after cruising the wide thoroughfares of West Germany with all its fancy Mercedes and Volkswagens. It's a really unexpected thing. Go on, it's a bus simulator. Why does it have history in it? But I find something really lovely about this, which is both unexpected and impressive for a two-person project consisting of a few bus models, some splines and a height map, which, when you're not exploring history, you can dissect at will using the game's built-in editor. Now, OMSI is kind of an obtuse game. I'm not going to deny that it's a lot of confusing menus, and even getting your controls set up is a bit of a fight. And the editor is kind of the most obtuse part of an already obtuse game. You definitely need the manual to figure out how to add objects and move things around. Despite owning this game for getting on for 10 years at this point, I've still yet to be able to create a functioning town with a functioning series of bus routes from scratch. So most of the time I just end up turning Grundorf into something a little bit more hazardous and exciting, because apparently I've missed the point of bus simulation. And what my attempt to recreate Stunt Car Racer on the most unlikely of platforms highlights is that OMSI's physics are perhaps one of the weaker parts of the simulation. They perhaps don't hold up to scrutiny once you're pushing the bus to the limit. But does it matter? Driving the bus isn't about its handling on the limit, it's about placement, it's about awareness of space, it's about navigating traffic, and also knowing which of the many switches to press to let someone off in a freezing night when you don't want to open the front doors and let the cold in. Or maybe knowing that the game engine can handle hurling the buses around with howling tyres would add a little bit of extra veracity to proceedings, but it's kind of not needed. I feel that I'm running a slightly chaotic bus. Don't go walking around the bus, this is a bad time. I did tell you. Ooh, blimey. I certainly wouldn't take that. Oh, the fantastic detail of 1980s Berlin.
Einen normalen Fahrschein, bitte.
You're creepy and dead-eyed. I'm not sure you should be allowed that. I think you probably want it for evil.
Wollen Sie mir einen Fahrschein geben?
Yes. Fine, it will happen.
Dankeschön.
Einen normalen Fahrschein.
Ah, yes, you can have that. Ah, that's fine. We know how to sell that. That's good. See, look at that. Look at the proficiency. Green light, green light, green light. Go. Besides, I will allow OMSI a lot of leeway because it really is just a two-person passion project. You know, it's just mean to criticise these things. This is something that two people deeply cared about and made, and it's a lovely thing, even if there are the occasional issues with the rather stiff-legged passengers. Why is there an old lady standing in a hedge? Well, beeping didn't solve anything. Kein Offroading. bus. This is kind of what I like, because, yes, it's bus simulation. It's like the most mundane thing. It's something which will get people questioning, what on earth are you doing, even more than playing a truck simulator does. And yet it still has all of this charm, even with the rough edges. She's just had some sort of seizure in the middle of the door. OMSI. You can clearly see the passion come through the screen. Now, sadly, Marcel and Rudiger had some disagreements during the development of OMSI 2 and went their separate ways. Marcel started work on a successor sim, Lotus, which aims to simulate not the vehicles of the Lotus car company, but trams, light railways and all sorts of other urban transport, including buses. Although sadly the current early access version does have rather mixed reviews, perhaps showing the difficulty of writing a very complex simulation as effectively now a one-man passion project. Yes, it was a bit of a urgent... What the... There's some crazed electric seizure going on around Berlin.
Einen normalen Fahrschein, bitte.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want to sell you that. You seem quite overstimulated. How much did you give me?
Danke.
But while many of the websites and Steam pages for Lotus refer to dates long in the past, I still like to remain an optimist and hope that one day there will be yet another game which gives me the same fondness for public transportation as I have for bouncing around 80s Berlin in a manned double-decker. Look at the efficiency. Oh, is there an enemy bus? I heard an enemy bus in the mirror. I think I'm getting overstimulated by the bus simulating game. But if you do find yourself captivated by the world of bus simulation, there are many add-ons for OMSI 2, both paid and free, although it's difficult to find ones I can show you, as they do tend to have quite restrictive licensing about showing them on YouTube. But somehow, I've never found myself really needing these. I may be only an occasional OMSI player, I am not a dedicated bus simist, but I find what's there in the base game is enough for me. Discovering the sights and sounds of 80s Berlin, figuring out how to navigate junctions and exactly how one gets to the Nervenklinik. Can you tell me the way to the Nervenklinik? Is this the way to Amarillo? No, it's the way to the Nervenklinik. Oh, that's a bit tight. That is... I'm sure I can fit that in there. That sounded good. Yes, nothing went bang. Okay, that went bang. I think that was just the bus. And of course the pleasure of knowing Grundorf, like the back of my hand. Even if I do get a bit too invested in it sometimes. You! Do you wish to be on my bus? I summon you to the bus. It's there! Take the bus! It could take you to so many amazing places. Just ignore it. Look, see? The bus, it could have taken you to this traffic light. But no, you choose to walk. Peasant. Look, you walking with your companion. You could be on the bus. Why are you not on the bus? All people must use the bus. Why do you want to go down there? It's not somewhere the bus goes. It's not a good destination. So OMSI, obviously these days it looks a bit clunky and dated, and to be honest it was a little clunky and dated when it came out, such is the nature of a two-person passion project. But I think as a passion project it achieves what they set out to do. It is very evocative of a very specific era in time and a very specific place in the world. And really it comes down to that thing that I said at the start. It's a bus simulator. Can you get over that? And I think for me, I definitely can. It's very busy going the other direction. There should be some kind of public transport that goes that way. Then people could use that. Right, okay. No biffage of signs. Oh,
Oh ja, ja, toll.
that's fine. We stopped, didn't we?
Ich hätte gerne eine normale Fahrt.